I think they need to just shut Bungie down at this point. Bungie has found themselves in a huge controversy over Marathon, the reboot, sequel, reimagining of their classic game. It turns out that they stole a bunch of art. In fact, they stole the entire look for the game from an artist who came out and said, yeah, this is my portfolio. They lifted it. They did not give me credit. People from Bungie were following me on social media, so they were very well aware of the kind of work I was doing. And then Bungie issued a formal non-apology, I guess, kind of a non-apology, tried to blame former employees for the oversight. And now the art director, Joseph Cross, is issuing a personal apology for the plagiarized art. There's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. Was it really an oversight, though? Because Joseph Cross follows the artist whose art was lifted, and you think he would have noticed this, right? You think he would have noticed this. So we're gonna talk about this situation here. And look, this is not unusual at all. A lot of times these companies will just take what they want. They will not give credit to the creators. And look, often it's not the entire company. Sometimes it's individuals at the company that are just looking to take a shortcut, right? A lot of times they're middle managers or whatever, and they're not very creative. So they find somebody whose style they like or whose stuff they like, and they are, using it as an influence or whatever, right? But this goes beyond that. This is like literally lifting this artist's textures and poster art and pasting it all over assets in the game. And it's so weird because Marathon has gotten hammered over the last couple of weeks, and the only thing it really had going for it was the unique art style, and that's not even Bungie. So again, I'm saying here, like, why Sony? Why does Bungie exist? Destiny 2 is a failure now. It's really fallen off. They laid a bunch of people off. They don't have Halo anymore, so they've been betting heavy on this, and it's a freaking disaster. It is. So this is definitely going to give them another black eye. They really don't need gamers to hate them anymore. It's not a good look, as the kids like to say. So let's talk about this. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Subscribe to news.clownfishtv.com for more news, more views, and exclusive content if you become a paid member. Help support the channel, because I don't know what's going to happen to YouTube. I'm going to be honest. YouTube concerns me these days. There's some things changing majorly with YouTube. So subscribe to news.clownfishtv.com. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, let's walk it back. Let me explain the situation as I understand it. So this artist, N2, which I think is actually all these numbers, it's pronounced anti-real. And they're talking about the Marathon Alpha. They said the Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made back in 2017. Bungie is, of course, not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. I don't have the resources or the energy to spare to pursue this legally, but I have lost count of the number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal work rather than write me an email. Yeah, this actually, again, happens a lot, especially with larger companies. So, see also Disney. Disney's always getting in trouble for allegedly lifting people's style or their art. In some cases, they do get busted. Again, we talked about Disney. They stole a 3D render of a tiki statue. And yeah, they technically own that design because it's from the Enchanted Tiki Room, but there was actually a flaw on the render that the artist put in there, that when Disney started commercially producing his work, that flaw was left intact. That's not actually part of the statue. He did it it's kind of a watermark of sorts. Hasbro did the same thing with G.I. Joe figures back in the day. The thumbnail was on backwards, it's on upside down. on the bottom of the thumb, so they knew if it was knockoff or not. And that's why he did it. And Disney lifted it and started mass producing these tiki statues, and he was able to prove it. Now, I think it was one guy at Disney that did this, and it might be one or two people at Bungie that did this, but I'm having a really hard time buying the story, given that the art director follows this person on Twitter. So I'm sure they're very aware. they're very aware that this is a thing. Said, yeah, I see that Joseph Cross also follows you. Is there any insight you can give me about the connection? He's followed me for a few years, and a few others from Bungie never had any communication. That's odd. It's a little odd, right? Especially if you have a very distinct style. You should definitely contact them and get this sorted out. I'm sure their legal team is on fire seeing this. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. They had an official reaction, and then Cross had his own personal reaction recently. So I'm actually re-recording this video to add his reaction to it. Your art inspiration that they took is literally the only thing appealing about their train wreck of a game. I'm sorry they're doing this to you, and I hope you sue them. Now, here's, again, very similar to the situation with Disney and that Tiki renderer. They hid loss in their design 6 years ago. And apparently they picked that up as well. They copied that as well. This is really obvious. There's no shot they came up with the exact same. There's no shot they came up with the exact same icons you used by chance. Crazy. This is happening. Yeah. Apparently there's also a recording artist that's name checked in the mix here that they worked with. Is it Aleph? Yeah. And that's not something that Bungie would have added on their own, right? Now, I really like the look of this game from what I've seen of it. It really is kind of a hodgepodge of like 90s, reminds me of like 90s CD-ROM, cyberpunk type games, right? They had a very distinct look. And I'm also thinking like Radiohead, you know, kind of the symbols from OK Computer. I'm thinking Wipeout. Yeah, there's a very distinct look. I don't know what we called exactly, but yeah. And that's, again, this is the only thing they're getting praised for in regards to this game. People say it's a mess, but the art direction's good, and that's not even unique. So they put a statement out. Bungie admitted that Marathon art was stolen by a former employee, they said. A former employee. And yeah, people don't like Marathon. The playtest did not go well. The alpha's not going well, but it looks good. Yeah, here you can see. This is coming from Deserto. They're pointing out Aleph. Yeah, that would not have been put there by Bungie, right? Anti-Real says, in 10 years, I've never made a consistent income from this work, and I'm tired of designers from huge companies mood boarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. It happens more often than you would think. And it's very hard to fight a corporation. And sometimes they plead ignorance, right? I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but there have been, now I've worked with Disney officially on licensed stuff over the years. But prior to working for Disney, there were some coincidental things that appeared in Disney media. And also we did actually have an animated series optioned. Oh God, it's been 10 years now. And I'm not saying it was intentional, but we had an animated series option like 10 or 12 years ago, a couple of years after they decided not to greenlight our show. A live action show using a lot of the same themes appeared on Disney Channel. And it was like, well, that's a little weird. It's very similar to ours, and they just kind of rearranged some things. But you know, it could be the zeitgeist. It could just be, what are the odds? That being said, though, when we optioned our show with Disney, it was a Disney XD. When we optioned it, we signed the check in the papers that said we couldn't sue them for anything. If they came up with something similar, there's nothing we can do about it. We cashed the check, right? You cash the check. That's it, man. That is it. So, you know, that's kind of where it gets tricky, right? But that was in a more official capacity. But yeah, a lot of these companies can just take what they want. And they could do it for years. I mean, before the internet, especially before social media, like it was their word against yours, and you had to pay for lawyers, and they don't expect you to fight back. You can't fight back. You're a starving artist. In this case, it could have just been a handful of people, but I do not believe that Mr. Cross was not aware of it, especially since he followed her on social media. Bungie admits the artwork was stolen from Marathon. So this is their official post on it, their official tweet. They said, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in game. Oopsie doopsie. This issue was unknown by our existing art team, bullshit, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters very seriously. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. Give her money. Give her money and credit. That's really, at the end of the day, that's the only language that starving artists understand. Give me money for my work and then give me credit so I can get more work. Put her on payroll, right? That would be the best bet. People hate this game, but they love the art. So I'm just saying. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission to prevent similar issues in the future. We're conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artist. How long ago was this person let go? Was it like this weekend, or was it like 2 years ago? And are implementing stricter checks to document all artist contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I believe they knew more than they were letting on, or at least the people in the art department did. Right now, here's where it gets kind of funny. I was talking about AI earlier today, and everybody's worried about the machines stealing the art when it's the humans stealing the art too. So, and they're not even changing anything. They're just like lifting it and saying, yep, mine now. Yeah. So Savvy says 22 hours ago, how is it that you have 800 plus employees, maybe a few hundred artists, and you have to outsource to another company for design because no one could apparently figure out how to draw rectangles, arrows, and ambiguous text symbols that are popular in that subgenre? Joseph Cross. So what you have worked with is Kirpa Hosk from close to the beginning of Marathon's visual development, identities, custom topography, etc. This isn't who swiped the assets, is it? Interesting. Tebow says, is this why your producer, Prince Zizou, didn't want to hear criticism of the game while also praising the stolen artwork on Blue Sky? Okay. Just a reminder, myself and colleagues are here to celebrate our work. If you have feedback or personal accounts are not the place for that, please direct that toward official communication channels. Failure to comply will result in a block. Not gonna lie, seeing all the cool Marathon artwork is healing for me. Huh? What is going on? Yeah, your lead follows Anti-Real on Twitter. Y'all rip the entire corpus of work. You don't get to diffuse responsibility for this onto a third party. Yeah, this is very weird. I mean, again, this is like Disney in a lot of ways has plausible deniability. It's like, yeah, we don't accept unagented or unsolicited pitches. And if you do pitch to us, you got to sign papers that if we come up with something similar, you're not going to sue us, yada, yada, yada. There have been some lawsuits, though, where you could clearly see, and a lot of times they're settled out of court, but you could clearly see somebody at Disney saw this person's stuff or had a conversation with this person that morphed into something else completely. And there is proof of that. And a lot of times just winds up as like a settlement or whatever. And again, some individuals at the company, not the company as a whole, right? But this is just, it's weird. It's weird. It's a very weird situation. All right. Remember when Bungie used to be groundbreaking and creative? Remember Myth: The Fallen Lords? I love that game. Okay, so this is coming from thegamepost.com. Marathon art director Joseph Cross issues personal apology for plagiarized art. There's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. No shit. Yeah, the Marathon community, is there a community, has been rocked by the plagiarism claims this week after A digital artist, Anti-Real, accused Bungie of using her original artwork without permission in the game's closed alpha. When the story first broke, Bungie responded by confirming that some unauthorized assets did make it into the game. Now, during the highly anticipated Play MA developer live stream, franchise art director Joseph Cross appeared on stream to directly address the controversy and offer a personal apology. I don't believe him. Marathon art director takes responsibility. Okay, what did he say? Okay, so they're talking about the graphics that were used. Here's a full statement from him, transcribed. Okay. It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of pre-production took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. And we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie. A few of the things that we've done in the last 24 hours and what we're doing to shore up the review process and our lawyers and our legal team, because there probably is a case here. We've reached out to Anti-Real, the artist in question, and followed up to ensure that we do right by this artist. We're auditing all the previous work by the artist, the internal artist, including the environment decals already in the build, which is part of why we're delaying some of the content we're going to show today. We're committed to removing anything that is questionably or inappropriately sourced. God, wouldn't it be weird if it was more than one artist that got ripped off? We're doing a very broad decal audit, and if we locate any other decals or elements, we'll make sure that those are eliminated or recreated in-house for sure. Eliminated or recreated in-house. So we're still going to lift your ideas. We're just going to change it 25%. So hundreds of artists have worked on this project for years, internally and externally, and we've shared many influences, including modernism, Swiss typography, 2000 style vector art, cyberpunk, and of course the original Marathon trilogy. Our style is a result of all those inspirations, and it's also worth noting that none of our external partners who have worked on branding or any part of the visual design of our game were involved with the situation. And lastly, personally, I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for artists working independently and producing, making a living doing commercial or fine art. We worked with many of them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job to make those connections, create content, and collaborate. And so to that extent, I want to send my personal apology to Anti-Real, whose work was used in this case. And I know how unfair this feels. We're doing everything we can to make this right with her. Her work is fantastic, and we clearly share mutual appreciation for a specific genre of graphic design, and it's very exciting. I mean, does he look excited? Does he look excited to you? He doesn't look very excited to me. I'm just saying. He doesn't look very excited to me. Very excited to have folded that into our style in general. So thanks for listening and thanks for your patience. Bullshit. I just think this is deflection. I don't think they thought they were going to get caught. That's my personal opinion. So, there it is. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. But there we go, guys. Another blow to Bungie. God knows they need the bad press like a hole in the head. But, I think they should just shut them down at this point. I do. I'm like, what do you got going for you? You got Marathon and gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.